episode of the Hurricane of Football podcast. In today's episode, we are introducing a new segment known as the butterfly effect, which is drawn from the chaos theory, which talks about how small decisions, or in the case of this situation, some big decisions have similarly unpredictable effects. So when you bring it to football, for example, how a red card can change a game, how a player transfer can either make his career or break his career, how the appointment of a coach can bring out the best in a team or can destroy a team's potential and so on, or even how an injury can destroy a player's career. So in this episode, this is the first episode, and this episode we'll be focusing on what if Neymar never left Barcelona. And today I'm joined by two two football fans, one being a Barcelona fan and one being a Manchester United fan. So Clarence, he's the Barcelona fan, and Ferdinand is the Manchester United fan. So, but during the course of the program, some other guests also join us and give us their take. So first, I want to ask you, since you are the Barcelona fan, when you first said that Neymar had moved from Barcelona to PSG in 2017, what was your first reaction?
Oh man, I won't lie. I was shocked. I was surprised. I was frustrated. I was annoyed. It was hard to break in seeing Neymar leave Barcelona for PSG, because without Neymar, Barcelona would have never won that Champions League in 2015. We would have never beaten PSG in that insane quarterfinals, second leg against them. And yeah, him leaving Barcelona to PSG was just a big shock. And then Charlie, it was just haywire after that. He leaving was just a big blow to Barcelona. Yeah.
Okay, so now Ferdinand, what's your take on it? When you first heard the transfer, what do you think about it? And okay, how do you feel about it basically?
Me, I was relatively indifferent. I don't have any affection towards Barcelona, so I really didn't care that he was leaving. I was happy that he was leaving Barca because around that time I had this slight hatred towards Barcelona for some numerous reasons, mostly because of their fans. But I didn't care. So maybe I was slightly happy that he went to PSG. Anyway, that's my take on it.
Okay, so me personally, I was shocked because I think 2 weeks before he had left, he posted Gerard Piqué he posted a picture together where he said he stays. So it came out of and they all went for, I think for the New York preseason that time they did preseason in New York. So it was a surprise. But during the week before he would actually leave Barcelona, he had the best up with Nelson Semedo, where the teammates had to separate him. So I think mentally checked out that he was leaving Barcelona. So now this is how we'll take it. We'll focus on the impact on the transfer. If had he not left Barcelona on Barcelona, Neymar himself, PSG and the Brazilian national team. So first, let's start with Barcelona. Clarence, do you believe that if he had stayed at Barca, Messi would have won another Champions League? And if so, give me why I think they would have won another Champions League if he had stayed. Clarence.
If sorry, I was on mute. If Neymar had stayed at Barcelona instead of leaving for PSG, I do believe MSN would have been able to win another Champions League or multiple Champions Leagues at Barcelona, because he was at his peak. Bro was literally in his prime. He was literally balling out. He was insane. He could go ballistic. If Messi is even quiet in a game, then he's just going off. Neymar does what he does. Link up with Suarez or Iniesta, boom, he scores. He's a fantastic player to watch. An insane dribbler, one of his favorite traits. He can get bypass defenders, and yeah, Neymar was really really that special to Barcelona. He was that missing piece after players like Samuel Pedro, and David Villa were no longer in the team. So he was literally that player that Barca could really 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 rely on. And then him leaving, kind of like changed the whole system now. And then Barca had to rely solely on Messi and Suarez, and sometimes only on on Messi, and then it wasn't really going their way. You could tell how they were always exiting in the quarterfinals or in the semi-finals of the Champions League when sometimes they were favorites to win the Champions Leagues. So yeah,
So Ferdinand, what about you? Do you think if he had stayed, Barcelona would have won at least one, even if no more than one, at least one Champions League?
In my opinion, they definitely would have, because in a team, it's always better to have the best players in your team. And around that time, me personally, my personal opinion is that Barcelona team with Messi, Suarez, Neymar, and Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets in the midfield were the best team of all time to ever exist. I can't speak for those times in the 90s and early 2000s, but in my opinion, that's the best team to ever exist. So if I think they're the best team, they definitely would have won more trophies. They literally won a treble together. So I expect if he stayed, they would have kept on winning more and more.
But okay, I also think they would have won at least one. I think the most glaring one for me is 2019. That match against Liverpool, that pass that Messi passed to Dembele, where Dembele basically just passed the ball into Alisson's hand. If that was Neymar would have better that chance easily. So I think probably in 2019, I feel like even if they wouldn't have won more than one 2019, I think they would have won it because in 2019, Messi did a carry job. He scored over 50 goals in all competitions. I think he had over 20 assists as well. So that season, he was really on beast mode. He did a carry job, and I feel like had Neymar been there, the burden would have eased a bit on Messi. But I also feel like the counter to them maybe not winning was probably the defense because at that point Piqué was getting old, and the Piqué was getting old. Mario wasn't really that good. And so I feel like the recruitment at that point was not also the best. It was dependent on the front three, but I feel like those three of them could have carried the team to at least one more Champions League because I feel like 2019 Messi did everything on his own, but at some point he needed help and the rest of the team let him down. So in that regard, I think they would have won at least one more Champions League. And so now let me ask the next question: Do you think do you think if he had stayed at Barcelona, he would have become Messi's true heir had Neymar not left for PSG? If he had been patient and waited a bit longer.
yes. That's actually one of the questions that I think Romario asked or was asked some couple of years back, and he was like, yes, if Messi was no longer at Barcelona, Neymar would have been the one to carry the team. And of course, he had it all. Even Ronaldinho was even telling him, look, you can go to PSG, but once you play for Barcelona, you definitely know that that's where your heart is, and you can end up winning more trophies there, and it's better to play there than to go and play with PSG. Yes, I do believe that. And in my opinion, if Neymar did stay and he had maybe gone crazy at that 20 from 2018 2019, we would have likely maybe seen an El Clasico Champions League final. Probably. We never know. It's one of the things that we always ask ourselves. If Neymar had stayed, it would have been exciting to watch. And I also think if he did stay too, he might have maybe have won at least one Ballon d'Or. So yeah, you're right. I do believe that.
Okay, so Ferdinand, what about you?
And I'm actually happy that you went to that direction, because me personally, I have a completely different opinion. You see, Neymar left in 2017, I think. He left Barca in 2017.
Yeah, in 2017.
Yeah, and around that time he was 25 years old. And Messi stayed in Barcelona for 4 years after Neymar left. So taking this into consideration,
But okay, wait,
that's
let me say this. Let me say this. Sorry to cut you off. Let me say this. I don't you think even without even if Neymar stayed, Messi's role could have more or less like the minutes in a way because he told before Neymar left, he told Neymar that if he wants to win a Ballon d'Or, he help him win it. So I feel like if Neymar had stayed, Messi would have more or less acknowledged that yeah, it was time for him to take maybe a bit of a back seat and allow Neymar to shine. So that's what I think. But you continue. You continue.
well, we will never know, but I doubt that would have been the case. Messi wants to be the best. Messi would. Why would a player take a backseat when he has the ability to do more for his team? So I think that it wouldn't have been a factor. By the time, if Messi, if let's assume that Messi stayed for those 4 years, if Neymar still in the club, let's assume that Messi still is in that club. If Neymar is in that club for 4 years, by the time Messi decides to leave, Neymar will be 29. At 29, let's recognize the fact that Neymar has had injuries throughout his career. At the age of 29, even at
No, wait.
PSG,
Yeah, the injuries aspect, I'll come to it, but you answer. I'll come to the injuries aspect too. I'll come to the injuries aspect too.
part of my point, it's part of this point I'm making. You would have
Okay.
injuries within those 4 years, and I don't think the torch will be handed to Neymar, considering all the injuries he had between the ages of 25 to 29. I think there will still be more responsibility on Messi to do more for the team. And having this in mind, I don't think Neymar would have done anything significant for Barcelona to even earn him a d'Or from age 29 going. Because let's not ignore that even at PSG he was still producing numbers. He took his team to the Champions League final. But
Yeah. And
you
let's
he
not forget
have
that PSG team, that final, he did all the work, but they were not helping. They were not helping him. So if the reverse was at Barcelona, where Messi did all the work and he had someone like Neymar, they would have definitely won the Champions League.
yes, it will work for the team, but it won't be added to his legacy. I'm telling you, if Neymar was still at Barcelona, even if he did all that, plaudits will still go to Messi because at the end of the season, we all know Messi will have more statistics than Neymar. Obviously, there has never been a year when Neymar has had more than him. So all the plaudits will go to Messi for carrying his team. Even if Neymar does, you see that PSG game you mentioned, people
Yeah.
recognize Neymar's efforts in that game. But at the end of the season, it's not Neymar they are recognizing or
Okay, yeah,
choosing.
I think that game is what changed his mind to leave because even after that match, even though he was the main man and everything, the only thing people remember is that picture of Messi standing with the fans with his hands on
Yeah,
his chest. Then the
yeah,
fans pull him. I think he also felt a bit like even though he did all his best, people didn't
yes,
necessarily appreciate him. So if go at that point, yeah, I agree that maybe if you had stayed at Barcelona, he may not have been the true heir to
Messi.
Messi. But what I believe is that if he had stayed, I think Messi would have taken off a bit of a back. I think Messi would have gone to a bit of a playmaking role, and Neymar would have taken more responsibility. That's how I think could have happened because I feel like Messi would have played for him to win it. In the same way, the 2016 when Neymar and Messi tried for Suarez to win the Golden Boot, I
Yeah.
think they would have been willing to compromise for him to do that. But I guess we'll never know. So now let's
You
move on.
know why I
Let's move
think
on
that?
to.
Relax. So before we move on, to come back to that point you are making, is totally fair because Messi is this humble or portrayed as a humble guy, but he's in the Argentinian national team right now, occupying spaces that other players can be playing. The whole Argentinian legacy is about him winning the World Cup for his national team, winning other
Hmm.
trophy and all that. Why wouldn't he retire and give space to another person? Come and
What he said, the
We
thing is,
we can.
he said, he said he feels good. And as long as he feels good, he'll be able to contribute. But the moment he starts feeling good, he'll stop because he doesn't want to be a burden.
so let's
That's that point.
logic of him as Barcelona. Messi will not sit down because let's assume he feels good within those 4 years. Neymar would be there, so he would want to play. He would want to be the main man. I think Messi people mistake him for his humility and think that he's not. I think he's very goal oriented. He wants to win the trophies. He wants to win those things. It's just that he's not as loud as Ronaldo is. Messi
Yes.
is
Yes.
like he would still want you even in some interviews you see other players talking about Messi. Even when Ronaldo went to Syria, he asked Kevin Prince Boateng whether it's tough to score in Syria. Why would he? Messi is very goal oriented, like he's very ambitious. It's just that he's quite humble, so people might see him differently. So I think if Neymar was there, Messi would still be the main man, and he would still want to be the guy taking all the trophies and medals and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is right. Messi's not as loud as Ronaldo, but then you have to know that Messi has always said this, that he has always come from a humble beginning. So it's one of the things that people see in him and they're like, yes, he's actually a very very humble guy. And people actually say it about him. Henry has said it about him. All the other players have said Xavi and Co. They've always said yes, he's that humble guy. Even though he's always goal oriented and everything, yes, he has always said it. Even there was a time in an interview where he said he wanted to be far far better than Ronaldo, and it wasn't possible because Ronaldo was always trying to catch up with him. He did say it, and he did say it a couple of times that he wanted to be recognized as the best. And let's not forget, Messi peaked sorry, Messi has had some different peaks, but for his national team, he peaked at what, 33, 34, winning the World Cup for them, then winning the Copa America after so many finals he had been to, almost what, four finals or three finals, lost them.
Yeah.
And then his fans,
But
his
you,
own people were
the thing
saying
is,
he
right
wasn't
now
happy to
we
play
are
for them.
digressing a bit. We are digressing a bit.
That's the
This one is not about Messi.
we were talking about
Today's
Neymar
episode is not
that
about Messi.
drifted to this.
Yeah,
That
no,
that
no, wait. Okay, wait. So what I'm trying to say is that
mm-hmm.
Messi will obviously want to leave that role if he wants to support Neymar, because he did play that supporting role to help Suarez to be the top goal scorer and to win the Golden Boot. He did play that role. He and Neymar did play that role. They did a good job. So he telling Neymar that he will let Neymar win a Ballon d'Or. He would have done it if that's what it takes for Barca to win the Champions League. And that's one thing people don't actually say about him. It's always the team and the club first for him. That's always one
Okay.
thing. So
you-
yes,
le- let's conclude. We've spent some more time on this. So to conclude, Messi might decide that might take a back seat, but it's not dependent on him. It's dependent on the people who are watching, the voters and stuff.
okay, that's
Messi
Yeah,
true.
but
has
if he
That's
had
true.
taken a
that.
back seat, there's high
Yeah.
chance more spotlight would have been on Neymar. So let's move on to the next thing. Do you also think that Mbappé would have actually gone to PSG had Neymar stayed? Do you think that he'd have done that?
To PSG, yes.
Had do you think you'd have gone? You do think you'd have still
To
gone?
to PSG, he would have still gone. He would have still gone because Mbappe Mbappe's situation is very, 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 like, very, very funny. But then when you look at it, his main goal was to go to Real Madrid. But at the time he wanted to go to Real Madrid, Cristiano Ronaldo, his idol, was still at Real Madrid. Benzema was still there. Gareth Bale was still there. Like, all these players were still there, and he was young. He didn't want to go into that team and be benched, even though his idol will be there. He might learn a lot of things from his idol. No, but then he also decided, okay, if I stay in France and play for PSG, I can become the main man. I can build a legacy for myself. Not just because I'm a French guy playing in the league. I'll be recognized as the best French player. He was doing it, so he thought about that and was like, okay, yes, I'll play for PSG, and then later I'll leave and go to Real Madrid. I do believe, yes, he would have gone to PSG even if Neymar didn't go to PSG.
Okay, so Fred, what about you?
I think he definitely would have gone to PSG. I think he was playing in Monaco and in the French league, the obvious biggest club is PSG. So why wouldn't he want to put his face or his name on the map? Like, get the recognition that he might think he deserves. So that was the obvious next step. I think Neymar going to PSG was even more motivation because he might want to be playing with the best, and that might bring more attention to PSG. So I think he definitely would have gone to PSG regardless.
Yeah, then let's move on to the next thing. So now the Ballon d'Or conversation. Okay, wait, before that, I also think Mbappe would have won. I feel like Mbappe's career they had already planned it from a long time. So I feel like they were not going to have stopped him from going there. I just feel like with Neymar going, it felt like it would have been a bigger opportunity, just like you said. So now let me ask the Ballon d'Or question. Do you think Neymar would have won at least one Ballon d'Or had he stayed at Barcelona? Now,
Of course, because, bro, let's look at this. Um, let's look at the year Bayern were ruthless with Barcelona, 2020. Or let's pick 2018 and 2019. Barca's two good years, even without Neymar. If Neymar was the one playing, then against teams like Juventus and then who Roma, bro, Neymar would have cleared all those people to win Ballon d'Or, especially if he's scoring the goals in the quarterfinals, the semis, and even the finals itself. He would have definitely won a Ballon d'Or.
Okay. I also think you. I mean, I feel like in 2019, 2019, depending if he had been there, I think probably would have been the best year. Because 2018, Barcelona bottled it against Roma, where they won 3-0 in the first leg, then the second leg, they ended up losing, I think 4-1 or 4-0. So I think 4-1, and Roma qualified in away goals. So I think probably would have won at least one. Fena, what about you?
I like to continue off my last point. I doubt he would have won a Ballon d'Or because, as I was saying, Flores would have gone to Messi still. See the year you guys said Messi and Neymar tried everything for Suarez to win the Golden Boots that year. When
Yeah,
Suarez Golden Boots, did he also win Player of the Year in La Liga?
player of the year in La
No,
Liga.
no, no,
Nah,
no, no.
So
nah.
unfortunately, still went to Messi, they did not. So unless maybe Messi was injured for a whole year and Barca still did well, oh, then definitely Neymar would have won it. But if it's just pure, if he's in the team with Messi and Messi is playing, I doubt he would have won it. So I think him moving to PSG, maybe PSG was not the best club for him to go to. Any other club, probably, if he went to any other club, he'd have won a Ballon d'Or.
I do feel if he was to leave Barcelona and to go to a different team to give him like that Ballon d'Or hopes, I think at that time, Man City or even maybe Liverpool or probably at a time Chelsea would have been the right teams for him. Yeah,
I was afraid
those
you.
those those would have been the best teams for him.
Well, I don't necessarily disagree. I think those things are better. So now let's move on to the PSG aspect before then we'll go to the Barcelona aspect. Now, with PSG, do you think, even though he didn't win the Champions League with PSG, do you think it was the transfer, it benefited PSG in a way that it increased their brand identity, so it was more like a necessary evil that they had to do?
Yeah, it was a plan all along by PSG. I guess they obviously saw Neymar. They obviously analyzing Neymar. They were looking at him. They're like, if we're able to bring Ronaldinho to PSG, why not the same with Neymar? Obviously, Charlie, those Arab people.
The
They're like,
time,
yeah,
the
we
time
have the
Ronaldinho,
money.
wait, the time Ronaldinho was at PSG, PSG were not rich. PSG became rich, I think, around 2010, 2011. That time, PSG were not rich. And that time,
Yes.
it was a young Ronaldinho. I think, wait, sorry to catch up. I think the match that convinced them to sign him was the 6-1. I think that was the match that convinced them to sign him.
Yeah, when he scored a hat trick, yeah, that was it. That was it. And then after looking at it, then they obviously went with so many proposals. They were like, "Oh, we'll give you your own team. We'll make you the best." They gave him so many offers, and his father too was like, "Yeah, he should go become his own man." One of the reasons Neymar also left Barca was because of his father. Let's not forget, it was his father. His father was also the one who was putting it into his ear that he should go to PSG. He should go to PSG. He will become his own best player and all that. And that's where he went. Injuries here and there, and it was costing him. Because at Barca they were managing him, and then they were trying to bring out the best in him. And then he went to PSG. It didn't go as planned. So I do one of the factors of him leaving too was his dad.
So you can say it benefited. No, I not say it benefited. It
PSG.
benefited both of them, but I feel like even though he made a lot of money from it, it benefited PSG in the sporting sense because it brought out their
Yeah.
brand name. PSG became more popular. My sister wouldn't have known PSG if it wasn't for Neymar. So
If it
I think,
wasn't for Neymar,
yeah, many,
exactly.
many people didn't have known PSG. So I think in that sense, it's all.
I think people did know about PSG only when Ibrahimovic, Cavani, Pastore, Lucas Moura, and all those guys were there.
Di Maria.
I'm
Those
telling
were
you,
there. Yeah,
even I'm telling those people, even though
they like
they were
no they
popular,
they started like they started
yeah, they
they
start.
launched
I'm,
they
I'm
launched
coming.
PSG.
Yeah, they
Then the
started
signing
it,
of
but
Neymar made
compared
it
to
bigger.
co- compared to Neymar, those people like throw them because Ibrahimovic is big here, but if you have to take 10 random parents and ask them to point out Ibrahimovic and Neymar, many people able to point out Neymar than Ibrahimovic. So I think Neymar was
Yeah,
more popular, more influential.
yeah, of course. I mean, he was. I think he was considered at one point. Was it 2016 to 2016, 2017, 2018? He was considered what, the hottest player, or the sexiest athlete or football player, on the planet or so at that time. So it was undeniable that he was the bigger impact for PSG to go like insanely global.
Okay, so Fred, now what about what do you think?
I think for purely footballing reasons, I think we all know that PSG would have won the league regardless of whether Neymar was there or not. So I think for what they were trying to achieve, success in Europe, specifically the Champions, I think they didn't get what they expected. But every other thing, I think they've done well for themselves, both PSG and Neymar. And let's not forget that maybe it's easy to get stars. Neymar was still performing at PSG. Neymar produced statistics like he was at 40 contribution throughout his time in PSG. So like I think he did well,
Yeah,
but what else would you expect him to do at PSG?
Yeah,
So
he did well, but you see, this will bring me to my next point. He did well, but I felt like the eyes of the world were not there because people don't really pay attention to League. So it felt like all what he was doing, nobody cared about it. It's like how Joao Felix has gone to Saudi Arabia, he's performed, but right now nobody really cares about it because the eyes of the world, nobody, most people don't pay attention to what happens to the Saudi Pro League. So now my next question is: Do you think he would have um, do you think he would have been more? Do you see when he went to PSG, there were a lot of rumors about his lifestyle. It felt like there was not really like discipline, and it felt like he was not really taking it serious because the level of the friendly wasn't that
yeah,
competitive. Do you think that thing it ended up affecting it ended up affecting his international career because he felt like, and also in the Champions League because he didn't have to do a lot of he didn't have to do a lot put in his best because even if he was at play say 40%, he could have done he could have scored a lot of goals and prevented a lot of assists in it, and so it also affected his progress in a way, also helped prevented him from being at his very top level because the competition was very low.
yeah. I mean, Neymar went into the League One team that was into League One PSG when I think after Monaco had just won the league, taking it from PSG's hands. PSG were obviously like, okay, let's bring in Neymar. PSG in that League One, Marseille had dropped in performance. Monaco were now trying to climb back. Lille and Lens and the rest too were now trying to come up, and Lyon were now trying to come up. It was still basically a farmers league. It wasn't that competitive. The players too didn't have any answer for Neymar. Obviously he had the talent. There was a time where he took on, was it 4 5 players, and scored a solo goal. I mean, for a player to do that in League One, it was crazy. In La Liga, he would suffer, even though he would still be able to successfully take on the defenders. He wouldn't be able to do that consistently, even though it was still helping his game, because that's one thing about the Latin countries. It helps develop their skill assets. But in League One, he became comfortable because he knows that their skill is not their skill cannot be compared to the skill of La Liga players, obviously. So yeah.
So you believe that it was also part of why? Do you also believe that it's part of why he got a lot of injuries because they also felt like one of the way to stop him was to tackle him a lot, and he didn't receive a lot of protection. I mean, before I answer, let me get Ferdinand's view on it.
to clarify, you said whether his lifestyle had influence on whether
I
he.
said, when do you think him going to PSG it also affect like because the competition wasn't tight, it also brought about a situation where he became too comfortable, so he didn't have to put in his best, which also affected his international. Like you can feel like it affected his international performance in a way because it felt like for almost every international tournament he was injured and stuff because like I don't know how do I say like the way he's seen in La Liga, like there's more competition. He's playing for
Yeah,
Barcelona, a lot of pressure for him to do it. But I felt like in PSG, I felt like he was like on a free ride. Then the way people want him to do or like the intensity and stuff doesn't match the same because I feel like he's a big dog. Like he became complacent in a way. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, you could say the competition, but I don't think is I doubt it's because of the competition. Regardless of how much you see League N to be maybe like a family, they still have players. They are still competitive. People from other leagues buy players from their leagues, so they are not scrubs in any way or form. They produce literally the best player in the world right now, Mbappé. So I think the problem was the money he was earning. You can say that's because of the league he went to or the club he went to. He was earning a lot of money. So I think that's what brought us the comfort. Was he not the highest paid player around that time? So I think it was the
Yeah,
money
Yeah, I
that
think he was one of the highest paid players. One of the
yeah,
highest paid players.
we
yeah.
all know
He
Brazil,
he was the highest paid player that those 2 years.
yeah, and the reputation Brazilian players have, especially the attackers, because their midfielders and defenders is like they have different mindsets. The attackers, especially, how many of them can you name and tell me that they didn't get complacent when they got money? Apart from the few that actually had injury issues and some other stuff. Yeah, there are not many you can mention that
Yeah,
didn't.
that's so true. I feel
Yeah,
like
that's
even
true.
with Ronaldinho, I feel like his peak was I think for like only 4 years. The 4 years went to Barcelona from I think 2004 2008. I feel like with them, they are in for a good time, not a long time. They dazzle, then they fade away. But I feel like with Neymar's on it was a bit more disappointing because we all saw what he could have done. Now, the people he doesn't get a lot of stake because I don't know. He won a World Cup. He won
Yeah,
a Ballon d'Or. So basically, he achieved so many things. He had achieved what Neymar would like
he
to
had he had
achieve.
he obviously won. He won a Ballon d'Or, won the World Cup. I think he won the Champions League, the
Yeah,
World
he
Cup,
also won the
and
Champions in
this
2006.
in that
In,
year in
in
2006,
2006, he won
everything
the
in that
Champions
year.
League. So I
So
felt like
he had felt like he had accomplished it. Yeah,
yeah, so with Ronaldo, it is people are not on Ronaldo and plus the way he played made people fall in love with Barcelona. So with Ronaldo, he gets more of a pass than with Neymar because Neymar people felt like him going to PSG was not the best move in the first place. But I agree with you. So and well, them
yeah,
Before
first.
on that same topic, I think it's mostly because of the circumstances they come from and how like
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah.
have influenced their lifestyle because some of them
but
I don't want to speak for all of them, but they might not come from very lucrative backgrounds, and when they get that money, maybe they
yeah,
are not
yeah.
very educated or well versed in how to manage their funds. A few of them, you can say a few of them have like successfully made
Uh,
a good name for themselves, but like because of how they were raised and how where they come from, the favela, dangerous place, favelas be like
Yeah,
yeah,
so
Ghana, so
yeah,
like
I agree with you. I agree with you. Because I understand them though. They struggle to get it. So when they get, if there's no anybody to correct them, they end up overdoing, which goes to the detriment of their career and stop them from having long careers.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Which the Brazilian players, which one was at his peak and then lost his father and then he just disappeared in
Adrian,
the Adriano. Look what happened. Look what happened to Adriano. Romario, it was injuries. He was never really that a nightlife player. He it was injuries that ruined Romario's career. Then you look at Alexander Patu. It was injuries. He was actually one of the brightest and youngest players in Europe. In fact,
even you could even say even Kaka.
yes,
Kaka at AC Milan, Kaka Real Madrid were completely two different players. So
yeah, and also
yeah, I think
Kaka came from a decent home. Kaka's
no,
family
I'm talking about what
had
I'm talking about is if you're talking about players at their peak, Kaka at
at their
AC Milan
peak.
was way better than Kaka at Real Madrid.
Oh
The
yes,
best
that's
version of
true.
Kaka was at AC Milan, not at Real Madrid.
Of course, yes, of
That's what
course.
I'm trying to say. So
Then there's also Robinho who also ruined his career when he went to
a lot of
was
Brazilians,
it
yeah,
yeah,
there are a lot of so yeah. So I think that's it. Right. So
even
to end the whole this one. So before to end everything, let me ask you. So which do you think could have been better? The actual reality we got, or him staying there because Right now, he's at Santos. And Santos are in the relegation zone. It feels like he has become an afterthought in the footballing sense. Even though his career, he has over 20 trophies. If the number of trophies he has, if he changed the league and titles to say La Liga or Premier League, he would have been more respected. But because it's the league and titles, people don't really respect it and value it. He has a Champions League. He
Yeah,
has a Confederations Cup with Brazil.
if
Even though he has never actually won, he didn't win a Copa America with Brazil. He has a Confederations Cup and also an Olympic gold medal. So all in all, which do you prefer? And then I'll ask you about his legacy then before we end today's episode.
which
So
as in
which reality do you
which do
prefer?
we
The one where
respect?
he stays at Barcelona and he becomes a Barcelona legend. He'll be more loved than he is now because now it feels like there are people that generally hate him because they feel like he didn't achieve what he could have achieved, and there are people like him for what he did for football. So where do you stand?
I I would have preferred the part where he stayed at Barcelona rather than to live to PSG, because this version of Neymar is making it look like as if Neymar didn't even do anything in his career. Right now, people don't even like recognize his other achievements in a way, because let's not forget, without Neymar, Brazil never qualified for the World Cup in 2018 and the World Cup in 2022, because Neymar was actually their best player. Now, in those World Cup years, he was
And that's
injured.
the thing. Even with all those World Cup, he still got injured at some point. So that is
Yeah,
the issue. So
that's
for
the
you,
issue. So yes, it was. I would have preferred Neymar to stay at Barcelona, where they would have conditioned him and they would have, been putting pressure on him to remain, fit and goal oriented, not to be living that lavish lifestyle, and to focus on his football career. Yeah,
wait, I just okay, Ferdinand answer, and then I just remember something that we'll talk about before we end.
Well, obviously, for his career, I think staying at Barcelona would have done more for his career. But even though he went to PSG, one thing could have changed everything. That Champions League final against Bayern, if he won that, that shows that he
yeah.
played the bar. That could have changed his entire legacy and cemented him as, like, in fact, he's still one of the greats. I don't like the disrespect that he gets sometimes. Neymar is like one of the greatest players to ever grace there.
Oh yeah, he
And
is, but nowadays it's muddy debate. This is muddy debate.
it is though,
Yeah.
but I feel like even he went to PSG, that one Champions League game could have changed everything. And Clarence was saying something about him staying at Barca and being more disciplined. I think staying at Barca wouldn't have changed anything. If he was going to pass, he was going to pass regardless. See Ronaldinho.
No,
Ronaldo,
wait, the difference. The reason I think it would have been better because you'd have had people like Messi and Suarez there to guide him. I feel like it would have been better that
Yeah,
way
in
than had he
because
gone had he
because
seen than
in
him going to PSG.
Yeah, because at Barca, one of the Brazilian players at Barca, Dani Alves, when he was at Barca, they warned him because they were aware of the Brazilian lifestyle when they had the experience with Ronaldinho and then the other players. So they knew about the Brazilian players. Once they begin to get money, the lifestyle, they want to be going to the clubs and everything. So Dani Alves was that player who was literally in Neymar's ear. Look, don't go to the clubs and everything. You get in trouble, and you are in this and you're in that. He was literally that. See what happened when Dani Alves left Barca. He also went to PSG. Then the whole issues and everything started. So that's how it is.
But okay, there's one thing I want to talk about before we wrap up. So, if Neymar stayed, would you think Barcelona's financial trouble would have been less than it is now? Because they wouldn't have been a need to buy Griezmann, Dembele, and I think maybe
And
Coutinho. They wouldn't have been the need
yeah,
to buy them. So,
there
do you think Barcelona's financial situation have been better had he
would
stayed?
have been it would have been insanely better, because with Neymar and Messi and Suarez still in the team, obviously they'll be bringing in more investors, and then they wouldn't have gone to pay those huge amounts of money to go and sign those three players who didn't even reach. We didn't even get to see any of them peak at Barcelona. You understand? That money would have been able to be put into the team more, and then to create a better team, rather than to go and buy those players.
I think I was about to disagree till Clarence mentioned the revenue point. The revenue that Neymar would have generated because of his superstardom from JC sales and stuff like that. But I think
Yeah.
some of those financial issues might still creep up on them because of Neymar at that time would have demanded a huge salary, considering see the price PSG bought him for. So like if he was willing to stay, price of the salary Barca would have to pay would be quite significant for them. They might not be in this level of financial debt or stuff like that, but they'll still need to sustain the team a little bit, bring
The-
some.
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree with you. I think it wouldn't have been this bad, but I think at some point it would have gotten closer to this because the amount of money they would have been charging at some point, it would have been great. I think that, but I don't think it would have been this bad where they wasted over 400 million on the three of them, which those three players didn't really help Barcelona in a way. They only brought more burden. So now finally, what do you think Neymar's legacy is? Because even because if you take everything aside, the good, the bad, and the ugly, I still think his legacy shows in the way the new players talk about him. For example, Lamine Yamal, Desiree Doué, there are a lot of young players that still look up to him because of the style of football he played. So, and I still think his legacy is intact, but just that it could have been way
More.
better had he stayed in Barcelona. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Neymar's legacy is still intact. For me, even without the Ballon d'Or, he's like still the third best player after Messi and Ronaldo because we saw his potential. That 2020 final against Bayern, he literally proved that he was the best player on the pitch. He did everything. It wasn't working. Neuer was, saving all his shots. Neymar was literally that best player. He came in and he was
That
frustrated. We
final,
all saw it.
I don't think that final he played well. He and Mbappé, honestly, they didn't play well. They had an off day. The both of them, their shots were bad. They were missing clear chances. I don't think
Yeah,
they played well in the final. I think en route to the
like
final, they played very well. But the finals, I don't think they played well. The final, I don't think they played
said,
well. That final,
said,
it wasn't a good final. That final, it wasn't a good final.
said this is a hot take. For you to tell me Neymar didn't play well in that final, you nah, there has
The-
to be some
you I
of
think I think Ferdinand I
Maybe,
think Ferdinand I
maybe
think
I
I
don't
think
fully
Ferdinand
remember, but maybe because it's been five
you
years, I
don't
don't
fully
fully remember.
remember.
For me, I don't
I
feel
can
like
remember some. Neymar dribbled was it Kimmich and I think some other defenders
that
and
one is
laid off.
the year after. What you're talking about is the year after when they played the Fates again, where Chupomoting scored goals. And what you're talking about the year after that final,
No,
I
no, no,
don't
no,
think
no,
they
no, no,
actually
no.
played.
That was that final. He had taken on the two of them, and
Chupomoting,
he had
that time
given no,
Chupomoting.
he had laid off a pass for Mbappe, and Mbappe, I think he miskilled the shot or whatever, and the ball either went over or Neuer saved the ball. I don't remember, but I think Fernand too will remember.
that
And then
final.
after that, after that two misses, and that's when he was like, okay, then he'll do it himself. And then he was killing the ball, and then Neuer was saving the shots
Okay,
too, and then they were blocking his
after
shots.
after after the episode, I'll rewatch the highlights of that final you see because honestly, I don't really remember much from that final. But after the episode, I'll rewatch the highlights from that final you see.
Yeah, because I remember Neymar being exceptional in that final. And I feel
Yeah,
like,
he did.
yeah,
Okay,
okay.
okay.
I
So
wanted to do some
Fred,
research on the stars, but next time we meet.
okay, so can I finish your assessment then Fernand will do his then we'll wrap it up.
My assessment of his legacy.
Legacy.
Yeah, so he's still Neymar is still literally that third best player because one thing Neymar has done for majority of this for the upcoming generation of football players like Desiree Doué and Lamine Yamal is to enjoy and to be free on the pitch because nowadays I think football has become so tactical and analytical. Fans don't get to enjoy and get to see certain theatrics from players. Neymar was one of those rare football players you would see that can perform on the pitch. I think I remember seeing a post where Buffon said to him Neymar was the best player he had ever seen. That was the Champions League final against Juventus. He said Neymar was the best player because what he was seeing was remarkably incredible. And yes, I think that's what Due and Lamine Yamal are putting into their game to go there and then to be fun to enjoy so that fans get to enjoy the football. you know. So yes, he's to me he's still that he's still one of the greats. He's still that best player, even though he never achieved what he wanted to achieve.
Okay, so Ferdinand, give me your submission.
Yeah, I completely agree with what Clarence said about these modern generation players are not as skillful and stuff like that. I like the way people compare Yamal and do it to Neymar. But like to me, I don't think we'll ever see a player as skillful as Neymar again because Neymar was a different level. I mean, like Neymar, his legacy right now, Neymar is like top five players of the last decade, like from 2000 to 2000 and no, from 2010 to 2020. I think Neymar is top five players of that decade. I don't see any player who comes close to his level of skill. He is a dribbler. Messi is not as skillful as Neymar. I feel like Neymar is a different level of his own.
Yeah,
And
Yeah,
his
yeah, that
leg
one there is true. Yeah.
yeah,
his legacy shouldn't be tainted by him going to PSG. Neymar still, even the highlights gave us at PSG, Neymar is different. I don't see any player like Neymar anymore.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
right.
so I think for me, I would say his legacy. I think what I'll say is his legacy will be more appreciated after he retires. Right now, people don't appreciate it more, but when he retires, people will more appreciate it very well because he has so many, he has done so many things. He's even Brazil top goal scorer. He
Yeah,
he was talismanic, and he could the what he could do. Not few people could do it. The way he could make you sometimes when you watch Lamers highlights, are like, damn, the skills, the
yeah,
trick.
that-
He was just a fun footballer, and I think as time goes on, he'll be remembered as such.
yeah.
Yeah,
I hope
yeah,
is.
So, that was this week's episode on What If. Let us know your comments and your thoughts about what and about everything we've said, what you agree with, what you disagree with, and we'll be back with another episode. This time we'll focus on what if Steven Gerrard never slept and how it would have affected Liverpool, whether Klopp would have been hired, whether Suarez would have even gone to Barcelona and others. So don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and put as post notifications. Tell your friends about us and let us know what you think. We'll see you in the next one. We out.
yep.